What are you
All
drinking
right,
there?
Montauk. You ever had a Montauk before?
I don't think so. I don't recognize
It's
that.
a Montauk brewery out in the Hamptons, but like all the way at the end there in Montauk.
Yeah, I know where Montauk. I've heard of that, but I didn't
I
know.
went to the brewery. My
Okay.
dad's a huge fan. They got like all these different types. This is their summer ale, which is actually pretty good. It's nice and light, so it's nice when the
Yeah.
weather gets nice out here.
That's why I like summer stuff, dude, because it's
Yeah,
light.
it's nice. It's got like a nice taste, but it's not like super fruity. It still tastes like a beer, but it tastes like more like a light beer. Almost not too
I'm kind of
not too different from a Sam Adams
go ahead.
type of beer that you might expect. This one, they also have a really good IPA that feels pretty light too. I'm a big fan of these Montauk beers. They're not a sponsor, but they could be.
I hear that. This time of year, I'm looking for lighter stuff.
When the weather gets nice, dude.
I mean, not that it's I do live in LA, but
yo,
when it's nice,
call me a pussy if you want. But when I'm on the beach, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than like a Corona or a Dos Equis. Dude, give me a Dos Equis on the beach, bro. I'm chilling.
I'm with that.
All right, folks. That was a little beer talk shop before another episode of Lock It In here. This is a YouTube short. You've got JD with Uncle Tav on the mic.
That's right. 1, 2.
These are going to be playoff previews for all of the series in round 1 of the NBA playoff, where we're going to go ahead and bring you keys to the series, X factors, and MVPs. But first, introductions for Milwaukee and Detroit. Welcome back to Milwaukee, who lost a tough 7-game series last year when a cardboard cutout was their coach. Welcome back to the Detroit Pistons, a team that just recently loves to flirt with the 8th seed and make a real statement in 4 playoff games. So I hope they enjoy these 4. For me, my key to this series is that this was just a terrible matchup for Milwaukee. For Detroit, Milwaukee allows the least points per game in the paint of any team. And the one advantage that Detroit could potentially have over a team is they have Blake Griffin, who needs to be the best player on the floor, but there's no way he's going to outplay Giannis.
No, and I think Brook Lopez really he's going to be a pivotal figure in this series too, because he's really going to be in there guarding Drummond. And it's weird because you wouldn't think of that as necessarily a plus matchup for Milwaukee, but it actually could be in this series. He's going to have the size to bang with Drummond. Drummond's obviously more athletic. But what he's really going to do is he's going to keep Drummond out 30 feet from the basket. Because Lopez just camps out there and 3 balls now, which is funny, easily one of the funniest transitions in the league. He's like turned into like the new Channing Frye.
It's hilarious. It's very funny.
Remember when Channing Frye just started launching threes that one year and everyone's like, holy shit.
Yeah, but Channing Frye was always kind of a little bit of a perimeter guy. Brook Lopez was always just a pound the paint, back to the basket guy. So it's been quite a transition. For me, my X factor for Milwaukee, and again, for these series, I'm looking a little bit more forward for Milwaukee than I am just this series. But it's going to be Bledsoe. They really have limited guard depth, and so they're going to need Bledsoe to be better than he was last year in the playoffs.
Deep, when we start really deep guard depth,
For me, MVP, obviously Giannis. I think you're probably going to agree. If you listen to the Toronto episode we did, I said the same thing, so I'm going to say it again now. My prediction is this playoff is going to be a legacy-defining one for Giannis and Kawhi. I'm more interested in comparing how dominant they each are in round 1. Every single game matters in this battle of legacies. So go dominate. Have this over quick. Give me the 26, 10, and 8 Giannis that I've been seeing all season and fucking shove it down Detroit's throat how much better you are than they are. I want to see it.
Well, we kind of did the watching this series, and you can let me know what you think on this. I actually think Sterling Brown is going to be an interesting guy to watch. Brogdon role, who's out. And that's a real loss for Milwaukee. It hasn't been talked about a ton, but Brogdon has turned in a very good year this year. And Sterling Brown has stepped in well when he's not being harassed by Milwaukee police, but he's stepped in actually pretty well early on here. If he can just be efficient and show that he's a threat and play that Brogdon role well, because I actually think he's capable of doing that. Milwaukee really needs that because they don't want to be playing Tony Snell 30 minutes.
I actually totally agree with that. I think it's a great point. Goes. Right. We've seen that enough. But
right.
I think that's a really great point. I think he's going to need to play well. I think he has the upside to be able to do it, though. I think Sterling Brown is a good enough player to be able to be successful in a Brogdon-type role. I don't think he has any more. I don't think you could expand him anymore. And I think the one place they're going to miss Brogdon is that in certain games, if somebody else isn't going, Brogdon had the ability to expand his basic role and play a little bit better. I think we saw that at times this year where they asked him to do a little bit more than he had been doing, and he stepped up capably. That's going to be where Sterling Brown might falter, but I think he can fill the base role of what Brogdon brought to them.
And actually, I should clarify, Tony Snell's actually been ruled out probably for game 1 and 2, so they're even better at guard. So Brown's going to have to play.
But again,
a lot of George Hill too, I think, is going to be.
But again,
a series.
But again, these guys, it's early. It's not going to really matter in this series.
And it's a nice tune-up for them because Detroit's backcourt is atrocious.
Yeah,
it is. It's probably the worst backcourt, maybe worst backcourt of any team in the playoffs. I think even I would take Orlando's backcourt over them. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, so that's actually a great transition because my X factor for Detroit is actually Reggie Jackson, and my advice here is try not to suck.
Bobby Shmurda, I don't know what to tell you about Reggie Jackson. He's just
try not to suck. That's all I got to say. Try not to suck. Him.
I will say they have probably my favorite backup point guard in the NBA, and Ish Smith behind him, who just is the most remarkably solid backup guard in the NBA. He's another role player I just like unreasonably a lot. But this guy, he's just like the guy you turn on and you like 50 minutes, like somebody's like when the starting point guard's out and he has to play 40 minutes, you watch Ish Smith and you're like,
but he's an NBA player. But he is very much the definition of a rotational player because every time he cannot expand into a starter. You cannot ask him to do that because that is not his game. And I think that's honestly Reggie Jackson's biggest problem is if Reggie Jackson had tried to be the sixth guy off the bench, if Reggie Jackson had just tried to be Patty Mills, I think he'd be such a more useful player, but he just sucks. For Detroit's MVP for me, it's easy. They'll need Blake to outplay Giannis. Simple as that. If they want to win any of these games, it's going to need to be because Blake had an insane game and outplayed Giannis.
And Blake's hurt. I think he's questionable now for game 1. So I agree. Blake's going to have an insane series, and I just don't think that's really.
Honestly, it kind of sucks as a matchup for Detroit because in almost any other series, you can make the argument that Blake Griffin at times might be able to be the best player on the floor, just not against this team. This is the one guy he can't score against. This is his worst matchup.
Toronto would have been an interesting matchup for Detroit because bodies.
Because as good as Kawhi is, Kawhi just wouldn't be able to defend Blake Griffin the whole game because Blake's bigger.
He's too big.
Right.
And Siakam, quite honestly, is actually too skinny to defend.
Well, he could way outplay Siakam to the point where it's such an advantage for Detroit that they could win games.